So the main topic I really want to talk about real quick is that this is my last year for the GH5. Last year for the GH5. Hello and welcome back to another Focus Friday here on the Small Bear Studios. My name is Charles Price and you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and I even have a Facebook for business things. If you hadn't watched the last episode, that fallout light and also the Wii light behind it, the Wii light was dying and it was changing colors on me. I wasn't crazy, but the fallout light wasn't on, and here I found the remote for it. So let's... Bam, look at that. Now it's just a little bit brighter. It's not as bright as I thought it was going to be, which is why I put the Wii light behind it. But it just makes things a little bit brighter. Now before we start today's episode, I do want to show you guys a little something. I bought a 3-pack of Kodak Gold for Christmas. I haven't opened anything yet, but I had received, it's not really a hand-me-down, but it's a Pentax K1000. It's a completely mechanical film camera. It has no electronics in it. It's just, it's almost like a point and shoot, except for film. But they do make film point and shoots. So that's not really this. Yeah. Anyways, I've been absolutely obsessed with how film looks. It occurred to me that I like certain films that have a certain look to them. And I started researching why I like these certain films more than others. Lo and behold, I found out that they record on 35mm film. Maybe I'll get onto it in another video, but as of right now, I do want to continue on before I get too sidetracked on today's video. So I'm not going to beat around the bush. It is my last year for my precious GH5. The GH5 has been a workhorse for me and for, I think, a lot of other owners of the GH5. It is a solid, sturdy camera that has enough features to keep you satisfied. Back in 2017 when it first came out, it blew the competition out of the water with all its features, with the 422 10-bit, with the cinema 4K and the IBIS, and there's so much about this camera that I love and that helped it maintain its status throughout these years. With that being said, I feel that it is time for me to not replace my GH5, but to add on to the lineup, because I do have it here. I do have my G7. This is the first beginner professional camera that I have ever had, because I had point and shoots before, but the G7 was a really good introduction. I do recommend it if you are starting out in photography. I do like its picture quality more than its video quality. It does 4K, but for whatever reason it just, I feel that it has a better style. But like I said, I gotta add something to the lineup. It is 2022. I've had the GH5 for about 3-4 years, and it's not like I'm gonna get rid of it. I'm still gonna keep it. It's still gonna be my backup camera. But I think the next logical thing for me to do, since I am doing all these weddings and all these other events, that I need something to future-proof my work. Now because of that, I have a few cameras lined up that I would potentially replace my GH5 with. I think I talked about it last time I put up a video in my return video, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell you all what those cameras are, and it's only 4 of them. It's only 4 of them. Some are cheap, some are not. I keep mentioning this budget-friendly thing. I always wanted to try to keep budget-friendly, but when it comes to the main body camera, you should probably splurge a little bit. On the accessories, you can be budget-friendly, but for your main camera, you need to have your solid, stable workhorse camera. Your A, B, and potentially C camera. all the way through Z. So let's get into this. The first camera that I've been just thinking about it is none other than the GH5 Mark II. This is a very weird scenario where they have barely expanded upon what the GH5 was, which makes the GH5, in my opinion, the most perfect camera because they can't really top what they've done. But they tried, and they came out with the GH5 Mark II. It still has 422 10-bit internal, I believe, or maybe it's the HDMI. It's one of those two. It has aspect ratio guidelines, which I shoot in 2:1, which would, if you need the pixels for that, it's going to be 3840 by 1920. Now, not a lot of YouTubers actually tell you what the aspect ratios of their pictures are. Or not pictures, but video. So I want to be as transparent on that as possible. I want to show you guys settings and all that I can use. But once again, I digress. So as for video resolution of the GH5 Mark II, it does shoot up to 6K. It has a few different options for it, whereas the GH5 can only shoot 6K anamorphic, which I guess that kind of gives it a little bit of an edge, but I don't think too much, not enough for... I don't want to say not enough for me to switch to it because hey, that's what I'm thinking of doing. But it's just it's not the attention getter that I thought it would be. It is affordable, and I believe it is roughly about $1,500–$1,600. It's not too much different. The battery life is roughly the same, although they did make a new battery, which gives it like what, a 20% increase in battery life. It would be the same workflow that you would get from the GH5, and I think that makes it a perfect camera, just a little bit updated, but not too much, enough to make it homey, you know, if you use the GH5 constantly. So the next camera in the lineup that I think would be a perfect, logical next step in the lineup for myself would be none other than the GH6. Now, the GH6 hasn't come out yet, at least at the time of recording this. I know I pre-recorded this a little bit in advance, but just keep with me here. The GH6 comes out in, I think, 3 or 4 days, maybe 5. I'm very excited for it. Now, I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for the GH6 because of how perfect the GH5 was. I wanted to see what they expanded on. Now, it has some bells and whistles that even surpasses the GH5 Mark II. The sensor is at least 5 megapixels bigger, and the GH6 is around 25 megapixels. I think I got that right. So the ISO is relatively the same. It's got a little bit of in between, but it goes from a 100 ISO to, let me see here, a 25600 ISO. So I do have some stats here. I am reading some stats because I am just not a technical person. I'm a very practical person. You know, if you quiz me on this stuff, I'm gonna fail. So I'm trying to seem, you know, competent, at least, if I'm gonna be talking about cameras to replace my baby, my workhorse. I gotta get stuff right. So I think the GH6 kind of pushes the boundaries of what Panasonic has set for the GH5. According to the statistics here, it's got 4K DCI, 4K up to 60p, 422 10-bit max at 800 megabits per second. And it also has 4K up to 120p, 420 10-bit max 300 megabits per second. Now that's what interests me. I love using 60 frames per second. And to bump this up to 120 in 4K, that's the stuff that I look for. I know, once again, I'm not technical about it, but I love the simple things in life. Who doesn't like slow motion? I mean, really. And probably one of the last things that I'm really looking for in the GH6 is that Vlog. Not Vlog L, but actual Vlog. Right now I'm using Vlog L on the GH5 to color grade all my stuff because it just gives you that nice dynamic range that you can add in more color. You know, make my face seem not as pale. With some of these features that it has, it's still going to have the same IBIS stabilization, which is great. They're falling behind in some things though. It's not going to have a dual slot SD card thing. Instead, it's going to be those thick, chunky CF Express cards. Those things are expensive. They're like $300 a pop. Like, I have 2 very good SD cards that I use for my GH5, and I think that that's enough. But now I'm not going to be able to use both. There hasn't been a moment where I've actually filled up both, but I've come close to it. One of the weddings that I did, yeah. A lot of filming. And I think the biggest letdown of this camera is that still no update to autofocus. Panasonic! I'm actually using manual focus right now for this stuff, and I feel like I'm in focus. I'm pretty sure I am. I've gone really good at doing manual focus. That's what I use for all my weddings. It's a pain when I try to use the gimbal and I have to rely on autofocus, but a camera shouldn't be a hindrance to whatever you're doing. It should help you, and the autofocus doesn't help. So if I choose this, it's going to set me back about $500 to $600 more dollars. It's going to be around $2,100. Like I said, it's about $500 to $600 more dollars than the GH5 Mark II, but overall, I think a reason to stay with Lumix, whether it be the GH5 Mark II or the GH6, is batteries and lenses. I have around like 15 some batteries so that I never lose a moment where I need to record and the battery's just dead. That happened to me on my first wedding though. Yeah, 2 of them didn't work. I'm lucky I had a lot, but like the 2 that I went to grab, it's like, oh crap. Oh boy. And lenses, like switching to full frame, that would be a lot of money down the drain. I have so many lenses. I just recently bought an anamorphic Sirui 50mm lens. I'm using my 12 to 35. You can't adapt these lenses to a full frame camera, so it would put me out a lot. So sticking with Lumix is something that I feel like that I am gonna do. Potentially. I don't know. That's why I'm making this video. So to continue on, I do have I don't think I'm serious about this next one. It's the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera Original, the 1080p one. I feel like I'm gonna buy this regardless of what happens, but it might be a little bit later. As I said, I am completely obsessed with that film look, and the Blackmagic, they've nailed it. Using Vlog-L on the GH5 and with this program I have called FilmConvert, I've been able to successfully get a homey type of look, a nostalgic type of look. I still feel that there's something missing. Now, while it's the original camera for the Blackmagic lineup, it's a pocket camera. You can put it in your pocket. I wouldn't rig it out. I just keep it like that. Now maybe I'd get something, maybe an eyepiece to have it stabilize a little bit, because there is no internal stabilization on the OG. So it would just be more of a passion buy. So I'm not really serious about replacing my GH5 with something that's older than it. You never know. I've done such extensive research on the next camera, which, okay. It's a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. I'm at a very big crossroads between choosing a camera that I've previously mentioned and the Blackmagic. You can find the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera on eBay for like $800, body only, which is fine, but you do have to rig it out. You have to get the cage, you have to get the CFast card because it won't recognize the older memory cards. It's a weird situation with it. Now you have to get a gimbal to stabilize it because there's no internal stabilization. People buy this camera because of the look it gives off, and it gives off that look, that like 13 stops of dynamic range. That's insane, and it gives you the ability to play around with the colors. I wouldn't call myself a colorist, but man, I like nice colors. Now, the cons of this is going to be the battery life. 20 minutes per battery, maybe 30. My battery's like, I've shot on this twice today, and it's only halfway down, and I've done it for like 30 minutes each. For the most part, I need something that I'm not just going to be able to shoot an hour with at most if I have 2 batteries. Overall, I have a lot of thinking to do. And I'm not going to lie, I think you guys know which one I'm going to pick. I hope you all enjoyed this video. this stuff to me is, I never want this to feel like a 9 to 5. You know, it took me a year to start doing this stuff again. It took me a year to make a new studio, or I guess just rearrange furniture. You know, it's something that when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And that's true. You know, this, as I said, this isn't work to me. This has opened up so many doors, windows, garages. If you would have told me I'd be doing all this in 2017, I would have laughed at you, but I'm getting there. Now, always try to continue pushing on. You've come this far, and it would be ashamed if you quit now. You have so much left to do. So I don't know when my next video is going to be. I mentioned film stuff a lot. So I think maybe I got an idea about what my next video is going to be. But until then, and I cannot stress this enough, ha. If you like the video, like it, subscribe to the channel, that would really help me out. Like me on Twitter, Instagram, just, you know, do what you can. I'd appreciate it. So hope you all have a good day, and I'll catch you later.